Do you feel trapped by food cravings? Here's the secret to naturally regain control. First of all, my name is Fred. I'm a weight loss coach. I help people lose weight. It's my passion. I struggle with my weight my whole life. So it's my passion to help you, okay? I thought I was addicted to food my whole life. And most people that work with me, they have this feeling of addiction, right? They say like, hey, I'm almost like addicted to food. And the problem with addiction is that if you have, let's say, an alcohol addiction or you have a drug addiction, there's ways to, okay, I'm not going to be an alcoholic anymore, right? With food, it's very different because we have to eat. So a lot of people are like, I cannot, if I'm addicted to food, I cannot beat it because I still have to eat. So there's no way for me to completely stop the behavior, like alcohol, like drugs, or like gambling, for example, right? So it's very tricky. But what I notice, or what really works, is that you got to understand you're not addicted to food. And I know that might blow your mind because you're convinced that you're addicted to food, but you're addicted to products. And I'll make the difference here. Think of single ingredient food. Think of chicken breast. Think of an apple. Think of cashews. Think of anything that is like a single ingredient. You're not addicted to those foods. Very likely you're not overeating on those foods, right? Yeah, sure, if you add butter, if you add salt, if you add a bunch of things, it makes it tastier, it makes it easier to consume, but most of the time you're addicted to products. Pop-Tarts, donuts, things that are not single ingredients, things that are made by humans, might be made in a lab, quote unquote, right? They're made in a factory. They're not something that your grandma or your grandmother would recognize. Like 200 years ago, the food that you're addicted to didn't exist on planet Earth, right? So we gotta understand we're not addicted. First of all, that's the most important thing or we gotta start there. It's like you're not addicted to food, you're addicted to products. What are products? Most of the grocery stores are products. There's like 60 types of bread. There's like 1,000 types of sauces and ice creams, and they're all products. But if you go around the grocery store, typically that's where the meat section is, that's where the dairy section is, that's where the fruit and vegetables are, right around the products. So if you want to beat quote unquote food addiction, one thing to do is like you can, like alcohol, like gambling, like drugs in general, you can actually abstain from them as long as you don't consume products and you focus on single ingredient food. You focus on food. You're not addicted to food, you're addicted to products. So to recognize that. The second thing is sugar. And I know it's like a buzzword. A lot of people say, like, you gotta cut out sugar. Sugar is evil. I'm not necessarily saying that, but I'm gonna make the point that sugar has an addictive properties, in the sense that if you eat sugar, you're not more satiated. Let's say you eat, I'll give you an example. You're super full, you're satisfied, but then someone came, you just had a big meal at a restaurant, someone comes with a brownie. And then you eat a bite of the brownie, even though you're full, you eat a bite of the brownie, and then you have appetite again, right? Another example of that is like you eat a candy bar for a snack, and then an hour after you're hungry again. And sugars has like this, it kind of feeds the craving. And that goes back to our ancestors. It's very rare that we would get sugar in the wild, in nature. If you get honey, and you find some honey, you better believe that you're going to eat it all, right? And if you get fruits, it's the season of fruits, you better make sure you eat as much fruits as you can. Sugar is not very abundant naturally in nature. So when we consume sugar, especially refined sugar, because obviously with fruits you have fiber, but when we have like sugar in our diet, typically in our products, to go back to the products, it spikes your insulin a lot. It keeps you kind of craving all the time, keeps you hungry. It is, and again, nothing against sugar. The problem is that if you're trying to lose weight, we're trying to manage hunger. We're trying to manage craving to make it as effortless as possible. And I talk about this in other videos, but we want to make the dieting process, the calorie deficit, to be as effortless as possible. And sugar, unfortunately, makes you hungrier. It very rarely makes you less hungry. So when you're in a season of weight loss, it's a good idea to reduce the amount of sugar, if not try to eliminate it like completely. It will completely help you to feel more satiated, because we want to eat food and feel less hungry and be satisfied. That's the goal, right? Of eating food when you're hungry. But sugar has the opposite effect. Okay, so you got to be aware of that. The last thing too is like managing your environment. If you're somebody who suffered with alcoholism, right, for like 25 years, you're not gonna have beer on like your table right there, right? You're not gonna have whiskey on right beside your couch. You're not gonna have, vodka in the pantry. Like, same thing goes with food. If you're somebody who struggles with craving all the time, why would you do this to yourself? Why would you have Oreos like on the counter and you would have chips in the pantry, easy to access? Again, those products out of the house. Keep the junk outside the house. If you want to have them, fair enough. Go have them outside the house. Managing your environment is going to change a lot of things, because if it's midnight, most people struggle with cravings at night, right? Right before bed. So if you don't have those foods inside the house, you're probably not going to eat them. You're not going to put on your PJs, put on your shoes, then put on a coat, go in your car, go to the grocery store at midnight to get your chips. If you do that, I mean, you really needed it, right? But most of the time, you're not going to do that. Most of the time, you're just going to be like, it's not inside the house. Whatever, I'm just going to go to bed. Or I'm going to eat something else. I'm going to eat a piece of fruit if I'm really hungry. So having single ingredient food, like having actual food inside the house and not products. If you're somebody who struggles with cravings and somebody who struggles with food addiction, quote unquote, it's fine to have those meals or those products, but have them outside the home. Preferably outside the house. Have it at a friend's house. Have it at a restaurant. All right? But if you don't bring it inside the house in a season of weight loss, it's going to make your life much easier. And again, I know it's not fair. Like, some people don't have quote unquote addiction. And I use addiction very loosely here, but some people don't have the same amount of desire for those products as you or as I, right? Some people just have more addictive personalities, some people say, or just like food more than others. Maybe we have more developed taste buds or something. But truly, some people also have struggles with alcohol issues, like I mentioned, or drug issues. And it might not be your issue, right? Maybe you don't care about gambling, but you love food. And some other people is like, they don't care about food, but gambling is their issue. So what I'm trying to say is, like, life is not fair for that. Like, yeah, sure, you might be inclined to eat a lot more food than most people, and you got to make peace with that. But you also got to focus on food, actual food, and not products. Because again, if you just focus on single ingredient food, it's going to be very, very hard to overeat, right? Try to overeat eggs, or try to overeat chicken breast, and try to overeat apples. Very, very difficult. Almost impossible. It would be a challenge to do, right? So again, think about this. Next time you say like, I'm addicted to food, I don't know what to do, like I have cravings and I have no willpower. It's not that. Food or those products are literally hardwired for you to love the food, like to be addicted, quote unquote, to the food. Like, that's the goal of the product. That's the goal of when Christie makes or Nestle makes the Oreos, that's the goal of the Oreos, to sell and that you go rebuy it and like you love this stuff. Like, it's so good. Like, the slogan of like Lay's is like, I bet you can't just eat one. And they're right. You can't just eat one chips. It's like the whole bag, right? So that's the goal. It's not you that doesn't have willpower. It's that The goal of the companies is for you to consume the food, and it's just impossible to not overeat. They're literally made for that, right? So make your life easier. Keep that junk outside the house. Focus on real single ingredient food, and I'm telling you, you're gonna realize you're not addicted to food. You're addicted to products. Hope this helps you. Reframe how you see food and how you see your willpower issues, if you will. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.